So VTI is better than VT. Now there's one lesson that I've learned in life, and it's that you can be the jack of all trades, but the master of none. And this really applies to VT more than VTI. Still though, we have to know that both of these funds, actually all of them are, involved in a Ponzi system. And I'm going to explain why. But first of all, let us define what actually is VT and VTI. So VTI is Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF, and this is one that allows you to get exposure to multiple different stocks across all sectors. It's especially good for exposing yourself to riskier assets. Now, they primarily invest in large caps, which means that if you're looking for significant exposure to mid caps or small caps, this one is not for you. VT is Vanguard Total World ETF, and like the name says, they invest in equities across the world. Global equity markets, including the US, ex-US, whatever that means, emerging economies and developing markets, they all do it. Now VT, like VTI, is largely dominated by large cap stocks, so if you're looking for exposure to mid or small caps, this one is not for you. The good thing is no one stock holds a meaningful portion of their entire portfolio, which means that it is well diversified. The analysis report does say that you can use VT to gain quick exposure to the global equity market. And we'll soon find out in this video that what Maury says about this one is true.
With a lie detector determined that was a lie.
Now, if you go to ETFDB and you look up VTI versus VT, here are the technicals that I look at, and we're going to compare them apples to apples. So with respect to the expense ratios, VTI actually has a lower expense ratio at 0.03%, while VT has an expense ratio of 0.07%. When it comes to annual dividend yield, VTI has an annual dividend yield of 1.53%, while VT has an annual dividend yield of 2.03%. Annual dividend rate, VTI is coming in at $3.26, while VT is coming in at $1.92. The PE ratio for VTI is 19.1, while for VT, it is 15.4. And when it comes to investing through PT ratios, Warren Buffett always suggests you go with anything lower than 15. So both of them falls out of the bucket here. For the 5-year return, VTI comes in at 10.10% and VT comes in at 6.96%. So just by looking at the pure technicals, VTI is much better than VT. So over the years, I learned that what's important when investing is taking a look at the macros, especially the holdings. And here's VTI's holdings analysis chart, and you can see their breakdown. 94.9% of their investments is based in the US, and their top two sectors are technology services at 17.12% and electronic technology at 15.7%. Finance makes up 13.07%. So for VTI, we see something a little bit different. When it comes to geographical distributions, US holds around 55.55%, Japan around 5%, UK around 4%, and France, Canada, and Switzerland altogether make up around 8%. So note that all of these countries are allies. They're all friendly countries. And you can take a look at this list and note that, any of the countries in the Middle East or Russia are basically non-existent. And China, the world's second biggest economy, is holding 7th place with 2.12%. Why? I mean, there are definitely some psyops happening here, but this is not the Ponzi part. Now, the real Ponzi here is you guys not using Moomoo or Webull. If you just go and sign up with them and make a deposit, you can earn some free stocks. Guys, that's money on the table that you don't want to leave on the table, because if you don't take it, someone else is going to take it, and we don't want that. So go ahead and use the links below to sign up with Moomoo and Webull to claim your free stocks. So what recently happened is that we now know that BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are now banding together to create a currency that is going to be a competitor to the US dollar. They are the opponents to the West, which are operating on a Ponzi currency system. And we know that the way that the US government pays back their debts is by printing more money. How do we know that? because we're broke. And that is not only happening for the US, that is also happening for the top 6 countries that are being held in VT. Of course, almost all ETFs are based on a Ponzi system, which means that all of them are basically based on the US dollar and has US as the top country of where they're investing in. So guys, remember, I'm not a financial advisor of any sort. I went to school for software engineering, but looking at this comparison here between VT and VTI, the distribution of geographies is much more pronounced in VT. I mean, in the top 6 here, all of these countries except for France can print their own money. They all use a fiat Ponzi currency system. And note that when it comes to sector breakdown, 15.8%, their top industry, their top sector is in finance. Now, I would have to say that when it comes to all of these fiat currency systems being wiped out, US dollar is gonna probably be the last one because it is the reserve currency, but it's still a fiat Ponzi currency system altogether. And that's what I mean when I say that these ETFs are Ponzi systems. It's not specifically the ETF, it's the denomination that they're using to value the assets that are in the ETF. So with so many countries struggling with inflation, an ETF targeting the global market like VT doesn't make any sense. So VT to me is a poor choice to invest in. And when it comes to being at home, like VTI, that invests in the total US market. But the thing is, there are going to be a lot of smaller companies that's going to go bankrupt. So also when it comes to investing in the total market in the US, that doesn't make sense at all. What I do think makes sense is investing in something like VOO or JEPI, which tracks the S&P 500. And if you want a video on that investment, check out the video that I made here.